Guangdong Province, China. An unprecedented deluge has plunged one of the country's most important economic centers into a state of emergency. The relentless downpour has triggered catastrophic flash floods, sweeping away both urban and rural areas. Rainfall far exceeded seasonal averages, pushing rivers to record levels within living memory. Hundreds of thousands of residents were forced into urgent evacuation, while concerns over the safety of vital hydropower dams continue to escalate. At least 3 people have been confirmed dead in neighboring Hunan province, which is also struggling with historic floods. In Guangdong itself, the full toll of casualties and damage has yet to be fully assessed as the situation continues to unfold. The immediate cause of this disaster is the annual East Asian monsoon, but this year it has been supercharged by the undeniable effects of climate change. The torrential rainfall has created what is being described as a flood of the century, submerging entire neighborhoods. Images and videos shared online reveal vast city blocks swallowed by murky floodwaters, cars swept away by raging currents, and residents climbing to rooftops or upper floors to survive. The floods came so suddenly and violently that many families had no time to gather belongings, escaping only with what they could carry. Authorities in China are racing against time to secure major dams. Although false rumors of dam collapses have spread, the reality is that several reservoirs have exceeded warning levels and were forced to release water through spillways. While these emergency discharges reduced the immediate risk of collapse, they also worsened flooding downstream, inflicting further devastation on communities. The city of Zhaoqing has been among the hardest hit. The Suijiang River surged to a record 55 meters, far above its warning level. Streets turned into torrents, sweeping through ground floors of buildings, causing widespread blackouts, and plunging more than 100,000 households into darkness. In one county alone, over 300,000 people have been affected, with at least 70,000 relocated to safer areas. A massive emergency response is underway. The central government has allocated initial relief funds, while rescue teams work around the clock in inflatable boats to deliver food, clean water, and evacuate stranded residents. These operations are perilous, as swift currents and submerged debris pose deadly risks to rescuers. Thousands of displaced residents now find themselves in temporary shelters set up in schools and community centers. They face an uncertain future, having lost their homes, livelihoods, and in some cases, everything they owned. The most urgent needs are clean drinking water, food, and medical supplies. Yet the psychological scars from this disaster will linger far beyond the floodwaters. The economic toll is also staggering. Vast farmlands have been inundated, crops destroyed, and food security threatened. Factories and logistics hubs have been crippled, disrupting national and global supply chains. In one county, direct economic losses have already climbed into tens of millions of US dollars, a figure expected to rise as full assessments are made.
علاية سماي طوفان ما شاء الله تبارك.
The root causes go beyond extreme rainfall. Decades of unchecked urbanization across the Pearl River Delta have turned the land into a concrete jungle, stripping away its natural ability to absorb water. Outdated flood control infrastructure, built for a different era, is no match for the extreme weather of the 21st century, creating the perfect conditions for catastrophic flooding.
多吓人呐！老天爷，你看看吧。
Weather forecasts warn of further heavy rains in the coming days, raising the threat of additional flooding and landslides across already saturated terrain. The Great Flood of 2025 in Guangdong is a stark warning of how vulnerable modern society has become to the intensifying impacts of climate change.
Increíble cuánta agua está cayendo aquí.
For now, the immediate priority is saving lives and providing urgent aid. But in the long term, China, alongside many nations worldwide, must rethink urban planning, disaster preparedness, and infrastructure resilience to withstand an era of extreme weather. If you found this report informative, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss timely updates on weather events delivered with clarity and accuracy. Some of the images shown in this video are for illustration purposes only and may not fully reflect the actual events described. Stay tuned and stay safe.
Ya Allah ya Tuhan. Ya Allah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
靚嘅象魚，有啲生猛喎。你個大哥？
Guangdong province in southern China has been battered by relentless heavy rains in recent days, causing widespread flooding, waterlogging, and emergency responses across multiple cities. The most affected areas include Shantou, Shenzhen, Huizhou, Dongguan, and Zhaoqing, where rainfall intensity has reached alarming levels, significantly disrupting daily life and public safety. On August 4th, Zhaoqing experienced torrential downpours, with some locations recording extremely high rainfall volumes in a short period. Roads in Duanzhou district, such as Bailin Road, were submerged, while mountainous routes in Dinghu district turned into dangerous torrents. The situation quickly escalated in Dinghu Mountain, where steep slopes and unrelenting rain triggered a rare and violent flash flood. Raging waters cascaded down the hills, carrying debris, mud, and rocks, inundating nearby streets and swallowing multiple houses. Residents described it as the strongest flood in decades, forcing many to flee within minutes as water levels surged rapidly. Local rescue teams raced against time to assist vulnerable residents amidst chaos, with cars submerged and homes drowned in muddy waters. Fire brigades in Zhaoqing were quickly deployed, bringing amphibious rescue vehicles and trained personnel to navigate submerged mountain roads. Rescuers braved hazardous conditions, conducting search and evacuation operations under continuous rain and fierce water currents.
好慘啊！好慘啊！而家鼎湖山崩咗，沖啲水落嚟，我哋成個檔口冇晒啦，啲嘢飄走晒啦。而家浸到上嚟2樓啦，我哋唔知係咪上面鼎湖山崩咗啊？沖啲水上嚟，而家我哋而家浸咗1樓啦。點搞啊？點搞啊？
In some hard-hit areas, communication was temporarily lost due to damaged infrastructure, prompting authorities to activate emergency communication systems to maintain command and coordination during rescue missions. In Dongguan, the situation was equally severe. Jiangmutu town issued a red rainstorm alert as downpours flooded low-lying residential areas, turning streets into waterways. Local police, emergency responders, and city management teams immediately launched rescue efforts. Several emergency shelters were opened to provide displaced residents with safe refuge, basic necessities, food, drinking water, and medical aid. Across the city, streets were submerged, and in some locations, floodwaters reached waist height, forcing residents to abandon vehicles and seek higher ground.
仆街！踩實掣咯，台車浮起身喎！
The province also faced rising river levels due to upstream inflows. At Shilong Station on the Dong River, water levels reached 2.11 meters and continued climbing. A red flood warning was issued as river systems remained under immense pressure. While main rivers, including the Dong River, Dongyin Channel, and Shima River, had not yet exceeded danger thresholds, they remained unusually high and are rising. Hydrological authorities confirmed that 15 small reservoirs in the region had surpassed flood control limits and were now releasing water in a controlled manner to reduce structural risks. Meteorological agencies warned that the threat was far from over. More rainfall is forecast in central and southern Guangdong in the coming days, with localized heavy to torrential downpours expected. Saturated soil and high river levels have significantly increased the risk of secondary disasters such as landslides and mudslides. Many cities have now raised their flood response level to level 3 or higher, with emergency teams on standby, flood barriers reinforced, and shelters prepared for potential mass evacuations. The entire province remains on high alert as the situation continues to evolve. Continuous heavy rains have submerged entire districts, sweeping across homes, roads, and farmland. In some areas, main town roads disappeared under muddy waters, turning city streets into rivers, cutting off entire neighborhoods only accessible by boat or rescue teams.
我说怎么这么吵，到处都是汽车这个响声啊！我起来一看，你看水炮车啊，水炮车。
Rural regions were particularly devastated, with overflowing rivers breaching embankments and flooding thousands of acres of farmland. Crops remained waterlogged for days, while irrigation systems were clogged or washed away entirely. Power lines snapped, communication towers failed, and several towns experienced total blackouts as transformers were damaged and backup systems drowned. Rescue teams worked around the clock to restore connections, but infrastructure damage slowed progress. The storm also tore through hillsides, washing away mountain roads and trails. Landslides blocked access to remote communities, while surging streams destroyed bridges that had stood for decades. Some villages remained stranded for days awaiting help. Inside cities, water poured into subway stations, underground markets, and hospital entrances, turning them into waterfalls. Public transport came to a halt in many areas as streets were blocked by water and debris. Authorities deployed thousands of emergency responders across Guangdong. Helicopters surveyed flooded areas, while boats delivered supplies to isolated families. Efforts focused on evacuating high-risk zones and pumping water from critical infrastructure. In the Pearl River Delta, key routes connecting major cities were severely disrupted, rail services were delayed, and airports struggled with flight cancellations due to poor visibility and submerged runways. Agricultural areas suffered devastating losses as months of planting were wiped out overnight. In some places, the soil was too waterlogged to save any crops. Local farmers began cleaning up while awaiting government relief funds. To aid recovery, national and provincial funds were rapidly mobilized, with over $1 billion allocated for repairs, focusing on irrigation systems, damaged roads, and food assistance for affected villages. Cleanup operations included large-scale drainage projects, sandbag barriers, emergency pipe repairs, and dike reinforcements. Bulldozers cleared debris from roads while volunteers helped clean flooded homes and shops. Across the province, thousands of families faced damaged homes, collapsed walls, and waterlogged furniture. Schools suspended classes in many cities, and shelters opened for displaced residents. While Guangdong is accustomed to heavy rains, the scale of these floods has overwhelmed existing systems. Many drainage networks, built decades ago, failed to handle the sheer volume of water, inundating entire districts in hours. The province now enters a long recovery phase, with families cleaning mud-covered houses, farmers assessing losses, and workers.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Natural disasters are not just numbers or fleeting image, but real pains and losses that affect millions of people around the world. We hope that through this content, we can foster more empathy, greater awareness, and encourage all of us to take actions, even in small ways, to protect the environment, reduce risk, and support those who are most severely affected by the natural impact. If you find this message valuable, please don't forget to share this to spread the spirit to solidarity. Once again, our deepest gratitude, and we will see you in the next video.